There is no escape. Don't let it destroy you. You do not yet realize the importance of the new way. You have only begun to discover episodes 1 to 32. Subscribe, and we will complete your training. With the combined strength of Ben, Matt, and Nick, when his connection is working, we can end your boredom and bring dick jokes to the galaxy.
I'll never listen to you!
If you only knew the power of the new way. Ben Wilson never told you what happened when his father started listening.
He told me enough. It was Ben that he listened for.
Oh, Nick is his favorite.
No. No! That's not true! That's impossible!
Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
No! No! No!
Friends, you can save the new way. We have foreseen this. It is your destiny. Subscribe, and together we can rule the galaxy with even more powerful dick jokes. Listen to us. It is the only way. It is the new way.
Listener discretion is advised!
The sacred Jedi texts. Oh, read them, have you? Well, page turners, they were not.
I don't like sand. It's coarse, rough, and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. I am your father.
Everybody wants to be naked and famous. Everybody wants to be just like me. I'm naked.
Will you help teach me about this? What is it? A new way?
Hello, and
welcome to the New Way podcast, hosted by me, Nick St. Croce.
Excellent.
Wait, were you going to take that?
No, do it. Go for it.
3 seconds in, already off the rails.
Do it, Nick. Take us.
No, we try something new.
Take us home, Nick.
You know, we're here to consume pop media, so you don't have to. Pop culture media. Damn it.
I like.
You know what? You should do the intro from that one.
I liked it. It was nice. It was a nice change of pace. I enjoyed it.
I believe that Matt has the very nice radio voice to open us up, though. So this is the New Way podcast with Ben, Matt, and Nick.
Sure. Don't worry, I'm going to edit you all out anyway afterwards.
Speaking of WNBC.
Just kidding, we don't edit.
Don Imus died a couple days ago.
Oh, yes, Don Imus. Well, I don't have anything nice to say about him, so...
I don't think anybody does.
We're not going to cover that.
Well, he didn't have anything nice to say about the Rutgers basketball
This is true.
So.
I'm mostly, as soon as he died, I was mostly just like, I can't wait to listen to Stern on Monday morning, just because he will go into a whole radio history of Imus and all of it. So that's the only good thing about the best thing about Don Imus dying is that there's going to be some really good programming around it. So
it sounds like the title of a Hallmark movie.
Sorry, the guy's
the best part about Don Imus dying.
The guy is an asshole, so whatever. Fuck you, Tom Inus. Tom Inus. I can't even bother to remember his name.
Don Anus?
Speaking of fucking Don Imus, how was everyone's Christmas? Ben, how was your Christmas?
It was great. I mean, am I going to say anything else except for it's great? Because it was stressful, but whatever.
No. Stressful Christmas? I don't know anything about these things.
We had 25 people over to our house on Christmas Eve, including a live performer who was singing like bebop hits from the 1950s and 60s in a like one-piece suit, like the one that I wore on my birthday a year ago. And singing directly to my wife's 87-year-old grandmother, because it's her birthday on Christmas, while trying to feed all these other people and like having 10 kids and 2 newborns, 2 like recently like 5-day-old twins in the house. It was a fucking nightmare.
I had totally forgotten
I feel my heart in my stomach just hearing that.
Well, I forgot that you had told me about the performer. I did not see a lot of video evidence of this performer. Do you have?
There's a reason for that.
I want it. I want to see it.
To be fair, the gentleman and his wife were very nice. They're from Romania, but it was interesting that my wife's grandfathers paid them basically $2,000 to come over and sing for us on Christmas Eve, which was insane.
Are they not aware that you?
I would have done it for the plane ride and some fried chicken.
I was gonna say, yeah,
for my buddies at Bud's.
If I had $2,000 to spend on a live performance, I'd get a Nick Santacroce in here right away.
Nick, you're wrong. We do Bud's on the 23rd, not on Christmas Eve.
That's true.
Listen,
That's true.
yeah,
I'm not joking. We've done that for the past 4 years.
How was the eggnog this year?
It's good.
I still have a bottle for you.
Yeah, I got a bottle in my fridge right now for New Year's Eve.
Yeah,
I cannot
see. I've gone straight to the pro move of I don't even drink it straight anymore. I just during the holidays, especially on Christmas Eve, days like that, and Christmas Day, I just mix it in with my coffee. Just like one third eggnog and 2/3 coffee. Fucking best creamer ever.
You know what? I think that's where I screwed up this year because I have a similar method, which is that my brother and I
Bandera method?
Our Bandera method is my brother and I typically go through like 7 bottles of Bailey's, like the big bottles, because we're just like every coffee is like a jug of Bailey's with a splash of coffee on top of it. We did not do that this time.
I have an image of you just like brushing your teeth with whiskey and Bandera.
If I
could
could,
get through the day.
First of all, it would be the most sanitary way to brush teeth where I'm at out there, far done. I gotta remember that one. Yeah, it is. We did not do that this time, and yeah, the stress levels. It's not our stress. It's the stress from certain individuals in the arena that they like to sort of breed the stress out. But otherwise, it was great. My brother and his family, or his wife and her family, she came in, and they're
you're not going to name names. Come on,
Miriam and her daughter Sarah and Samantha and her son Hernan. They all came, and Sarah and Hernan had such a good time. They decided they want to come to New Year's Eve along with Miriam and Sarah. So I'm going to have all 5 of them and my brother here for New Year's Eve, which is gonna be super fun.
Fun guy.
So we had a good time. We bonded. We learned some Spanish. My brother. So we watched. This is actually kind of fun. We put on Coco, and we put on Coco in Spanish with English subtitles. And then my brother and I would like occasionally yell out.
You mean Spanish subtitles? Because
no,
the movie's in English.
We
put the Spanish version.
We put the Spanish audio on with English subtitles of the English version, not the Spanish version. And then we like critique the translation.
Does Gael Garcia, what's his name?
Gael Garcia Bernal.
He's the one. He is the only one of the main cast that does both. He goes both ways. It's not like each one.
He definitely goes both ways.
We know that from the first movie we all saw him in. But no, it was good. It was super fun. But yeah, we had a good time. And how about you, Nick? How was your Christmas?
You just made an E2 Mama Tambien joke. I love you.
Well, that really sucks because I spent my Christmas vacation thinking about how to recast Muppet films, and that was the first thing I thought of. So you kind of stepped on that.
Can you please give me your E2 Mama Tambien with Muppets?
Yeah, it's just Miss Piggy is the only Muppet. I switched it up a little bit. Normally the convention is what you pick. It's one live action.
It's 2 Walters and a Miss Piggy. That's all it is.
I know. I've already just started picturing it with just Miss Piggy and Diego Luna and Gael Garcia Bernal, and it's maybe the best movie that's never been made. It's definitely So, and we were gonna try to save this for when we're all gonna see it, but I don't know when it's gonna happen. And only one of us on the podcast has seen the movie we have talked about more than almost any other movie this year, and that's Nick. And Nick, we need to hear your hot take on Cats.
Wait a minute.
Your capsule
Cats
review
episode where everyone else has seen it. I'm the only one that's seen Cats.
You're the only one that has made it to Cats, and I just don't know when we're all going to get it. While it's still catch it while it's hot. We're in cat fever right now.
We're contractually obligated.
Yeah, we need a review. The audience is clamoring for a review.
Contractually obligated,
or more so, the audience is just clamoring for closure on Cats one way or another. So
okay, we promise listeners no more Cats after this. unless there is.
Yeah, there's gonna be some more. But Nick, I want to hear your take on this. I really do.
It's true. If you don't see it in like 2 days, you probably will never see it in theaters because they are pulling it from Academy Award contention. Stars are distancing themselves more every day. I'm sure my Skype will give out for a couple seconds, but I'm sure you can fill in the blanks.
No, you've been dead on. You're on the whole time.
You're in Baltimore, not California, so you sound great.
Well, I've heard you guys drop.
I guess this is what they call The Wire. Wow, that was that was maybe the worst.
Damn.
That was a joke so bad, only cats could be worse than that joke. Speaking of which, Nick.
And it was still uncomfortable. So I went with my mom, and I know, glutton for punishment.
To the horniest movie of the year.
But the thing is, like my mom took me to Cats. It was my first musical ever. I saw it like 5 times as a kid. I have Rum Tum Tugger's autograph in my childhood autograph book. I loved that musical as a kid, so of course I'm going to see it with my mom.
Now we know all about Nick's childhood scarring.
She goes,
"Hey,
my
you
mom
didn't
goes,
meet Rum Tum Tugger, okay? He gave you a Rum Tum Tugger."
Oh no!
Sorry.
Continue.
No.
Oh, now you did drop
mom,
out.
You know, it's getting really bad. No, I know. But my mom says it's getting really bad reviews, but we're still going to see it, right? We're still going to see it. So we get in, and I actually am pretty encouraged right off the bat because they had that same 1983 synth Cats open. I thought they were going to try to spruce it up, and that was my first thought. Like, oh, wait a minute. The best Cast recording is clearly 1983. I'm sure you all agree. I thought maybe this was a sign.
Sure.
That maybe they knew what they were doing. And yeah, it is very uncomfortable.
The best Cats recording is kind of similar to like the finest print of Mein Kampf.
I love that.
That's not true.
I love
There are some great printings of mine.
I love any review that begins with Nick earnestly saying it was very uncomfortable.
It was very uncomfortable.
Well, it really, really was. And in all the ways that you've read. But, I gotta say, if you are a fan of the musical, and you've seen the musical, the uncomfortableness of the cat fur and the CGI does start to fade away.
Okay.
The awkwardness is in the filmmaking.
Okay.
In the transitions, how you transition to a set piece, the music mixes were terrible, and they used the worst version of Mungo Jerry and Rumple Teaser, the 1981 version. I know. They should have done the upbeat, horn-heavy 1983 version of Mungo Jerry and Rumple Teaser. But I digress.
Mungo
Jerry. Right, that's the good one. So basically, because there's no plot, they had to make a plot. And
Ben is losing it.
I just remembered when you made that joke about Lake Mungo Jerry.
Magical powers. Well, Mungo Jerry and Rumple Teaser are his henchmen.
It was like 2 years ago. It just hit me. Go ahead.
Anyway, it does track. If you have to make a plot, make a villain, it makes sense. It's sort of like Carrie Fisher died, so you have to find a way to kill Leia in the last Star Wars film, right?
Yeah.
They did the best thing they could, but it was real long. And at the very end,
they did the best thing they could to kill Cats. The musical.
You're just waiting for it to end. You're just waiting for it to end, and they kept even the instrumental. I thought they're going to cut certain characters for time. No, they kept them all in, and including, and you might actually like this, Matt, the dance sequences with instrumental.
Oh,
like
yeah.
5-minute dance sequences.
If they were real
like
humans and not animation, yes, I would love the dance sequences. But the idea of doing motion capture dance is, it makes no sense to me. It doesn't work. But I will say that, listen, as bad as this movie sounds like it is, I do have to say, I have never.
I was sober. I was real sober.
Yeah, see, and I do want to go see it kind of messed up. And I have enjoyed so thoroughly the Cats reviews. I have never enjoyed reading reviews more thoroughly than the Cats reviews, and they're out of everywhere, including I wanted to read this one because it's going to tag into our main discussion tonight,
and Matt,
as well.
Reviewers wait their film reviewers wait their entire lives for a movie like this.
Well, and the people that came out that were like, and I remember some of the ones before like the bombast had started that were just literally like, guys, this is not just the worst movie of the year. It is probably the worst movie of the decade. It is going to overshadow every failure of the last 10 years easily.
Well, I still remember as soon as the embargo lifted, the first review I saw was just a one-word review. It just said "woof," and I sent that to Nick, and just because, of course, it was that was the thing to do.
Before you get into the reviews, Matt, I think we should end on the review. I think.
This isn't a review actually. It's kind of a game. It's just a little bit of a game. And Nick will be good at this because he's very familiar with the Cats. So this is from Patton Oswalt, and this is this a Rise of Skywalker or a Cats character? Okay. Old queefing guts. That's obviously Cats. Brimble tongue, snatch liquor, chode cumload, Poe Dameron, Mr. Fidgety Smimble Bumble Tum Gubbler, Chewbacca the Tea Shop Pussy. There were too many. I mean, I can't even go through all of the reviews. Every one of them were like this existential crisis. I think the one that I sent to you guys, I still think is the pinnacle, that the people set to Dr. Manhattan on Mars, contemplating his existence, and it's just the Cats review I think that's the peak. That is the peak of Cats reviews.
This is why I needed you guys to see this and even me out, because every other person who sees this movie is going, their critique of the film is going to be, I saw images that were burned into my skull, and I'll wake up in a cold sweat for the rest of eternity for the unspeakable things that I witnessed. But meanwhile, for me, it's like, I don't like the version of Mungo Jerry and Ruffle Teeth that they use, and Rum Tum Tugger is supposed to be the rock and roll cat.
See, and that's why I appreciate that.
Not the Jason Derulo cat.
No, I appreciate your review for it because the problem now is with all the buildup.
I think that Rum Tum Tugger.
Yeah, go ahead.
I barely knew her.
No, I just.
No, sorry, I didn't want to talk over you talking over me.
I'm sorry. You continue. I apologize.
Rum Tum Tugger is a rock and roll cat. Can we agree on that?
Yeah,
sure.
Okay. He could be infusing rock and roll at every moment. What if he just jumps in and all of a sudden the instrumentation, you get a wailing rock guitar solo? One of the best gags is that like all the female cats are in love with him because he's a rock star, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
They didn't even play up that joke. And they go into a milk bar instead of a rock stage.
Oh, no.
And his mix is totally down. There's hardly any rock guitars in this song. Come on. Rum Tum Tugger is the rock and roll cat. And he was not. Matt. He was not.
No, my question, Nick, of course you know what I'm going to ask.
The thing. It had no balls, which is ironic because they literally CGI his cock out of the scenes, but the music is what didn't have any balls.
My question, the only thing I need to know is, do they do justice to Mr. Mistopheles, the original Conjuring cat?
Well, Matt, I'm glad you asked.
I am too.
Mr. Mistopheles became kind of the main character.
Really?
Interesting.
Okay, I like this.
Figures into the plot in a big way.
Oh.
He's even the love interest of Victoria in this version, whereas in the stage he's basically Liberace with a
I was gonna say Mr. Mistopheles is not into the ladies. I'm sorry.
He is like the 80s movie like Ducky.
Yeah, he is the gayest of all the cats.
Now I'm gonna have to write myself back into Benjamin's old ass film expertise. Wow. I can't. I honestly, I
I don't know how to explain the fever pitch of excitement of needing to see this movie, and I just don't have the time right now.
If you're a Mistopheles fan, you'll love it.
I cannot wait. I'm gonna try to figure out a way to get a little bit drunk and Uber over to the theater and try to catch it this week. And I will offer any counterpoint to
Me too.
Yeah,
Me too.
Dude.
Me
If you
too.
got time off, I'll do it.
I want you to pay special attention to the scene where James Corden makes a joke about slant rhymes being lazy.
Yes, yes, I can't wait.
It literally happens.
I am leaning more and more. By the way, so it is my birthday coming up this week, and
This is your birthday week.
I am hardcore leaning into more and more that I want to take a whole group of people to go fucking get fucked up and see Cats. I want to actually put more people in the theater to see Cats than have been in the theater to see Cats in any theater in the United States, just with my friends.
Cinemark is going to be like, we have to keep it around for a week longer, just for you and your fucking.
Yeah, if I buy the tickets now, they'll be forced to keep it on it.
Exactly.
Just be prepared for Judi Dench to talk at you for about 20 minutes at the end of the movie. It's bizarre.
But before we actually get into the topic, though, it is award season right now, and we're starting to get the award nominations rolling out there. Obviously, Cats, not surprisingly, is not well represented among the award nominees. Nick,
it deserves more nominations than The Irishman. Put it that way.
Whoa!
Oh my goodness,
them's fighting words. I don't think Matt.
I still haven't.
Neither Matt or I have seen The Irishman yet, so you're our sole source on the Irishman. However, have you seen any other
guys? I sat
award-winning
and The Irishman. Can I get a little credit for this? Can I get a little credit for this?
I will. Yeah, I will. I will.
Nick's doing all the heavy lifting this holiday season.
He's like back in the 70s. You'd always have like the man on the street reporter that would get like stuck doing like the worst like. I'm here at the sewage plant watching it as it erupts today. Like we just sent Nick on a thing of like every bad movie this season that you can go like get stuck onto.
Yeah, Nick, and for your next assignment, you have to watch the 2002 masterpiece Ghost Ship.
That's better than having to make him watch Crash. But I digress.
You mean the Crash or the
not the Cronenberg Crash? The Crash that won the Oscars, the shitty Crash.
And not the delightful album by Dave Matthews Band.
Correct.
Into Me.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, have you seen anything else you consider maybe possibly better than Irishman Cats that might be award contenders?
That's one thing I wanted to bring up really quickly is what our favorites are this year so far. Because we're in the midst of award season, so obviously there are lots of movies that are being released that we haven't seen. But Nick, thoughts?
I would like to see RDJ get a Best Actor nomination. I don't know if he deserves to win, but I would love to see him nominated for Iron Man for Endgame. And I would like to see a Best Screenplay for Knives Out. And right now, those are kind of the two that that comes to mind first, to be honest with you.
Screenplay for Knives Out, so I think that's that might be locked up.
I think it's a layup.
I also think Daniel Craig for Knives Out is just fucking phenomenally good.
I would love that. I would love any comedy noms in a meaningful category would be great.
And Ben and I watched Uncut Gems, which I think is a really good movie. I don't know that it deserves
we just watched it.
I don't know that I would nominate necessarily anybody in it for anything, but it's a damn
not Sandler.
No. Get out of my head, Matt.
Wow, that was the most in harmony I've ever been in my entire life.
Wait. No.
He was in bed with me, so we can't claim otherwise. Oh.
No, Uncut Gems is really good. Sandler delivers a great performance. I don't know what else I'm going to see out there this year. I haven't seen Marriage Story yet, which I've heard is just fucking phenomenal.
Would you say Sandler blew it?
There's a lot of that Sandler in this. It is...
Sandler's perfectly fine, but as it kind of has that catch-22 that the Safdie brothers wrote the story for him, and so it's kind of his voice the entire time, and so he's definitely not transported anywhere. He has a couple of great moments. I mean, it's a fantastic acting performance, but I don't think that it is anything outside of. I think he's more outside of his element in Punch Drunk Love, which is a movie I don't even love. Well,
I was about to bring that up because I think he should have gotten the nomination for that role too.
He's better. He acts more in that
Yes.
movie.
Yes.
He doesn't act as much in Uncut Gems, but he's better suited to the role in Uncut Gems than he is to Punch Drunk Love. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
In Uncut Gems, does he finally decide what is better, shampoo or conditioner? Because I've been waiting for that for many years.
You know the scene in Big Daddy when he blows up at the McDonald's and he's like, "Can someone get this kid a Happy Meal?" And he screams like, "That's the whole.
That's the whole movie.
It is almost every line is he's in that mode of exasperation and yelling and swearing a lot more.
He's an angry Jew.
I would not watch it with my mom made us turn it off because it is very sweary and it's a lot of yelling sweary.
It's like, and I said it's like a Robert Altman movie because it's just a bunch of people yelling over one another. Like the first 15 minutes, you can't differentiate voices. It's just a bunch of people screaming over one another.
It's basically loud Gosford Park.
Yes, exactly.
Got it.
Loud Jewish Gosford Park.
Very, very Jewish.
Yeah, I mean, I've
mentioned that twice.
It is. I don't know how to not. It is. It's actually. It is.
But the Judaism is such a big part of the story.
It's a huge part of the movie, actually. Like I know it sounds like we're making a bigger deal. The movie opens in Jerusalem.
Yeah,
where they're mining for a gem. So it is.
Did you say Judism?
Jerusalem.
No, did Ben say Judism?
Oh yeah, it's like
I said Judaism.
It's like when
Judaism.
It's like when you're a Jude, bro.
It's Judaism.
No, it's Judaism.
It's Judaism.
Well, okay. I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee. We said Judaism.
Ben's a real Jude, bro. He's just out there doing it out.
Nice.
No, my performances I really like this year. I watched. I finally got all the way through Joker, which I really, really enjoyed. The performance is amazing. I don't love necessarily the theme of the movie, but the performance is great. I still think.
But Matt, don't you think it's cool that Robert De Niro's show is in the same font as Batman the Animated Series?
Oh, I did not catch that. That's pretty cool.
Actually.
There's a lot of old school Batman that I liked in there, and more so than I thought there would be actually. But for me, the performance I think is not probably going to get nominated. That I really want to get nominated is Lupita Nyong'o in Us. I think is such
a rough role.
Fucking. It's one of the few performances I've watched on screen that just
it's unsettling.
Yeah, I don't know, and I can't name a whole lot of other people that could pull off what she does in that movie. And I know it's going to get overlooked.
It's really hard. I mean,
but that's a fucking amazing performance.
And actually, I was listening to I think it's Justin Chang, who's the NPR film, and he said that was his favorite female performance of the year was Nabil. And he said the exact same thing, that she won't get awards or probably nominations, but what she did in that movie was next to miraculous. And I think I enjoy that movie solely because of her, because of how like committed she was to that role.
Oh yeah, like she fucking
MTV
goes right
awards. It would just be best performance.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's the performance this year so far that stuck out most to me that I would fight for.
So
and it's not Emma Watson and Little Women.
Well, actually, so
Ben said it was really good.
So Beth and I went and saw Little Women, which one small directorial choice aside is fantastic. And I love Greta Gerwig. I think has a fantastic voice both as an actor and as a director. But it just doubles down on the fact that I think one of our most underappreciated actresses in this generation is Saoirse Ronan. She was just absolutely phenomenal and just says so much with the way that she performs. Emma Watson's fine. She's fine in the movie.
On par.
She's fine.
She's born.
She's born. So
I would love for Ronan to be in a cover band, Saoirse and the Banshees.
Oh God!
Wouldn't that be good?
How about Cherchez la Femme? Yeah.
But Saoirse Ronan does all the heavy lifting in that movie, and it's very clear that she's kind of as much as she is the kind of stand-in character for the actual author of Little Women, that she's also the stand-in for Greta Gerwig as this young entrepreneurial spirit who doesn't want to be tied down and doesn't want to be classist or sexist or anything along those lines. It's a super great adaptation, and I don't think I'm ruining it that much by saying
no spoilies.
No. It tells the same story, but Pulp Fictions it, and it does it in a way where it does present and future and going and alternating between those in a way that makes it far more compelling than the actual narrative.
Nice.
Well, now you just mentioned my second Muppet.
Oh shit!
I almost did that one.
Speaking of Muppets,
Yeah, we're gonna need to do that.
Let's do it really quick.
We will
because I didn't do it. Okay, go ahead.
We will actually do a more in-depth year-end review when we get into the new year.
So. After we've actually seen all the rest of
and
the
our
movies.
Oscar stuff. Yeah, because that's the only problem as every year. They release all these Oscar movies in the last week of December, and that just to like get them out there. So like
my original thought was like, oh Matt, let's go see 1917 before we record this podcast, and we realize it isn't being released for 2 more weeks here.
Yeah, so, even though it technically came out on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
So there was a great Twitter conversation that happened the other day. 2 really good ones. One I want to get into in a later podcast, which was debating whether or not Goonies is a objectively good movie. Which I thought was a really, really fun read.
I could argue about that for hours.
That's kind of what I liked. I went through the whole thing, and I agreed with every side. Like every point made sense to me on both sides of loved it or think it's overrated. Like everything all worked, and like it's a movie that it affects you how you want it to affect you.
Exactly.
That's great.
And I'm one of those big like structure guys. Goonies does not have a great act structure. It's very kind of uneven, but.
Yeah,
it gets the pass from me because of certain elements, but we'll get into that.
So we'll get into a few of those, but there was a great one that was you can now. I went one step further to actually cast individual roles, but the idea was you're going to remake a movie, and you're going to have one human allowed to remain in that movie, and the rest of the characters are going to be Muppets. And mostly people were just kind of pitching it as, just like, oh, Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise and Muppets. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it's funny, but I think I was more interested in actually casting individual Muppets as characters. So Nick, did you have time to do your Muppet assignment?
I did do my assignment.
I'm excited.
Oh my goodness.
Are you going to share it with us?
I decided to, just kidding. You didn't hear my joke?
No, you cut out for the joke.
Oh, well, now I gave away that it was a joke. I was going to do Schindler's List, but then I decided instead to do Jaws as my first.
Nice. I like this.
Brody, of course, is Kermit.
Mm-hmm.
We got Gonzo as Hooper.
Yes.
Okay.
Dr. Teeth as Quint, and Fozzie as the mayor. And we keep Bruce, the shark.
Yeah, I like this. I like this.
Yeah,
I would watch that.
For Pulp Fiction, we're keeping Uma Thurman as Mia Wallace. That is the human glue. Pumpkin is Gonzo. Honey Bunny is Camilla the chicken. Vincent Vega is Kermit.
Christ.
Jules is Fozzie. Butch Coolidge is Sam Eagle. I'm kind of proud of that. Marcellus Wallace is Rolf. And Lance is Scooter.
Nice.
I'm happy with that one.
The Camilla casting is perfect.
But here's the thing. I'm thinking about this, right? And when you're recasting female characters, who do you have?
There's no female Muppets. There are no female Muppets.
There's one.
Piggy. And Piggy is kind of a one-note character, unless you're going Muppet Babies. There's Skeeter.
Yeah.
But if you're going official Muppets canon, you can't.
I agree.
I actually got hung up because I was like, I was trying to do Ghostbusters, and I was just like, well, Annie Potts and Sigourney Weaver, and neither of them match Miss Piggy. So I was like, okay, well,
Janice could have been Annie. Could have been Potts.
Maybe.
But yeah.
But then that got me thinking. What if the only thing you cast is just one character and it's always Miss Piggy? And then I went down a really crazy rabbit hole.
Oh, no.
And my first selection is she takes Demi Moore's role in Disclosure and sexually harasses.
Oh, yeah. Keep Michael Douglas.
Hold on a second.
Miss
Hold
Piggy.
on a second. Did anyone else watch this season of Big Mouth?
No.
So it's this really weird timing, Nick. I just watched the second to last episode last night of this season of Big Mouth where they do Disclosure the musical. And it's one of the greatest things. I'm like, that's twice in 2 days Disclosure has been brought up on the podcast. We do a deeper dive on that one. So did you cast one, Ben, or did you?
So
Wait, hold on. I got one more. I got one
okay.
more. I got one more.
Do it.
One more piggy role that she's born to play. Joan Crawford and Mommy Dearest.
No more wire hangers. I could see that.
No more wire hangers ever.
Yeah, I like that. I like it. I'd watch it. All right, Benny, how about you?
So the one, so I started doing Ghostbusters, and I got really frustrated, and then I looked online, and actually, one of our compatriots from film school had posted one online that I really, really liked, which was The Big Lebowski, which is you keep Walter, and then you do Kermit as the stranger, Rolf as the dude, Statler and Waldorf as Woo and blonde treehorn thug, Beaker as Donnie, Scooter as Brant. Oscar the Grouch is the Big Lebowski special role there, and then I mean that was kind of it.
Oh, they're tying to Sesame Street.
You got to keep Bridges the dude, I think.
Yeah, I would think that, and that was my biggest thing, because I was trying to cast things that had a central character that everyone interacts with, so that they're involved. Like you do Muppet Christmas Carol, and you have Scrooge is the main character. Or if you did Muppet Wizard of Oz, it's Dorothy. Like you keep the one like through character on there.
Sure,
I kind of want to do the Lebowski one. I think that one out a little bit too. I went with Beetlejuice.
Oh, nice.
And I just kept Keaton as Beetlejuice, which is the easiest. And I tried to think, I had the same problem as both of you guys of female characters, but I did like Piggy as Delia and Kermit as Charles Dietz. I think it's actually the dynamic of those two characters actually sort of works.
Perfect, yeah.
And then for Adam and Barbara, I could not come up with something good, so I just cast Waldorf and Statler as a married, and they die together, and they're stuck in the afterlife, which I thought would be kind of a funny movie. I took a little Muppet Babies leeway and put Nanny as Juno, Janice as Lydia Dietz, and Fozzie as Otho. And that's my Beetlejuice.
I like that. I like that a lot.
I like Jim Henson was a visionary, but didn't have a whole lot of strong female Muppets.
Almost none. Had a chicken and Piggy and Janice. And that's it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I didn't realize that. That's kind of nutso. But
I feel like you could also recast anything Joe Pesci has ever been in, and Pepe the Prawn.
Yep, there you go.
Or Rizzo. Together, they're a Pesci. At least a full Pesci.
I got it. Recast Midnight Cowboy. Rizzo as Ratso Rizzo.
Oh, my God.
Done.
Meta.
So I do want to get on to our main topic. So it is the end of the year for us here. This will be our last podcast of 2019. And it has been
the last podcast of your 40th year.
This is true. I will no longer be a 40-year-old. I will be a 41-year-old, forgotten by time and history. But
not forgotten by us.
But remembered by these lovely people here in the show. And so we decided there's a brand new Star Wars movie out in the theaters. There's a Star Wars TV series that just wrapped up on Disney Plus. And we thought,
really, what's it called?
The Mandalorian. And so we thought we would like to dedicate a whole episode to all things Star Wars, kind of discuss the franchise as a whole.
Yeah.
And we will be getting into spoilers for The Rise of Skywalker and The Mandalorian finale. So if you have not watched either of those two properties, you want to probably come back to the podcast.
We will give you a heads up as soon as we get into the spoiler stuff, because I had some questions about Star Wars first.
Oh.
Which was, when did you first see a Star Wars film, to Matt and Nick? And when do you remember becoming a fan of that franchise?
Do you want to go first, Nick?
I don't remember when I saw it, but it was definitely Jabba the Hutt and all the Muppets in Star Wars. That's what won me over.
Nick really strikes me as like a Return of the Jedi. Like, that was your favorite movie, right?
As a kid, absolutely.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh yeah. I have a couple years on you guys. So I was very familiar with Empire. and I saw Jedi in the theaters with my cousin John, Johnny Mac, who was scared of Darth Vader, and we had to leave. He had to leave, like be taken out of the theater as soon as he heard Vader breathing in Jedi. It terrified him every time we hear Vader breathing. So like we were old enough to know, like as soon as he heard the breathing, he's like, "Fuck this shit," and just ran out of the theater like that. He was done. So we knew about it, but what was funny with me is that I remember I was probably about 10 or 11. We had just moved to Arizona, and I was going through our VHS tapes. And that's my mom always got us. We had a lot of VHS, so I saw a lot of these things on loop on home video. And all of a sudden, I'm going through, and
So
I go,
you still think Han shot first, then?
yeah, I do. Well, here's what's funny. So I'm going through the
That's
three.
McClunky.
McClunky.
Yeah, don't think I didn't have a McClunky here for all of you guys.
McClunky.
We'll throw him in here whenever we decide we're off topic. Just get him. That's right. No. So what was funny is that I'm going through the 3 VHS tapes.
So fucking bizarre.
We're gonna go off the rails with McClunky, aren't we? It's just too good.
It just doesn't make any sense.
McClunky.
Anywho, it really is the perfect thing to interject in any conversation to win. Just be like, yeah, I am guilty of all these crimes, but
McClunky.
and like, oh, you're good. Anyway, so I was going through the 3 VHS tapes of Empire, Jedi, and New Hope, which at that point,
And
to
you
me,
found out that you had taped over it with Emmanuel in space.
I wish. No, I kept calling. Well, I refer to the original one as Star Wars and not A New Hope, because that's what I knew it as.
Right.
It was not A New Hope, and I also look at my mom like, which one is Star Wars? And she goes, it's Star Wars. Like, oh, and I realized I was probably about 10 or 11, and I had the least memory or retention of the first movie. I knew Empire beat to beat, and Jedi I'd watched 1,000 times. I had my Ewok costume, my Ewok pajamas I wore for a fucking year.
I'm actually similar. Like that was the exact same thing that happened to me. It's like I watched A New Hope when I was like 7, and I watched the other 2 a bunch of times. But I don't think I watched A New Hope again until I was like 17.
Yeah, and all of a sudden I'm like, which one is? She goes, it's the one where they swing across the cat. That's on the cover of the thing is Luke and Leia swing across the thing. I'm like, I don't remember. And then now going back, I'm like, first of all, A New Hope is still the best Han Solo that appears in all of the movies. I mean, I like Empire Han Solo, but the truest Han Solo is New Hope Han Solo. He's just a fucking tour de force. And the worst Han Solo is sadly Jedi, which as a kid I loved, but it's terrible. Like you can tell he's not interested
He's
in
phoning it
being
in.
there. But yeah, it is interesting to kind of think about how you become. And I wasn't a huge Star Wars fan. My buddy Casey was in high school was a big Star Wars fan that got me more into it. Like being friends with him.
So I right when the lead up to Phantom Menace came out in 1999, I believe. I revisited all of the original trilogy and got huge into it. And if anybody remembers that there was a Star Wars card game that was at one point almost as popular as Magic the Gathering, where very similar kind of structures. And the group of geeks that I played Magic with, we switched entirely to Star Wars. Like
You played Magic?
Fucking nerd.
Of course I played Magic. I played Magic for 5 years.
McClunky.
McClunky.
That's how you toast someone when they say I played Magic for 10 years.
When I was going to college, I sold my like exquisite, like really rare card Magic deck to somebody for $60. So
Big money.
yeah. but I got huge into the lore. I got huge into like all of the intricacies of like the expanded universe and stuff like that. And then I went and saw Phantom Menace, and I was just like, "Fuck this shit. This is terrible." So,
well, I remember the other one that got a lot of people. So when in high school, like in 95, 96, so they re-released the original trilogy in 97, which was a huge thing.
With all the digital effects.
Yeah, and we had a group of probably about like 10 or 12 of us that would go out on Friday night And each time there was a new release, we would go and watch New Hope, watch Empire, watch Jedi, which is super fun. It was a really smart move on their part as well to just build that frenzy around Phantom Menace was unheard of. I can't think of anything bigger than that was. And then I remember the other thing was the Dark Forces PC game.
Yeah, it's huge.
And we had a computer lab, and we would go at lunch and
game.
play Dark Forces. It was like a huge deal. And
I put in the cheat code, and got all the guns.
Yes, I'm a big fan of cheat codes. No surprise to anyone. But
because you suck at games.
I do.
My clunky.
I don't care. I just like cheat codes. Okay.
My clunky.
Ben happens to know how much I suck at games. By one night, he forced me to play Madden in front of him, and by the end of 10 minutes, he's like, I can't do this anymore. It's really bad. Anyway, so for you guys, so the one thing everyone always talks about is this grand ranking of the movies, and I'm always interested to hear how people rank them, because the lists are very different, and I consider this to be theatrical releases. There are 9 core films that are part of one saga, and there are the 2 additional that we have now, which are Rogue One and Solo, which I'm including in this conversation, if that's okay with you guys. But I'm curious, so for you, Nick, kind of talk me through how you went about ranking, whether it was based on which one you thought was the best film or whether it was the most enjoyable. How did you kind of build your list?
We are forever flawed in the sense that we have kids who watch the Star Wars films now and love them, and that's their Star Wars.
Yeah, like prequels, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and not just the prequels. I mean, we're talking Rey and Finn too, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you see, whatever is your generation of Star Wars is never going to be as good as the new ones or the ones before it.
Yeah.
New Hope is corny. To us, we nitpick the problems in the new movies, and the old movies have the same exact problems, right? But for me, the most authentic Star Wars is New Hope, the first one that struggled to get made and was a phenomenon. But it was a phenomenon for a reason. And that soul is there, and that authenticity is there. And I feel like every film since then is kind of chasing that. So really, it's hard even for me to group anything else in with the originals.
Sure.
Because nothing comes close.
All right. So, you got Hope number 1.
Yeah, I didn't know we were supposed to rank them.
Oh, that's okay.
I didn't rank them. I think I would go off the top of my head. At the top of my head, I would go New Hope, Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back. I'm not counting the prequels. I'm not counting Solo.
Revisionist history.
So Nick has ranked the first 3 movies as the only movies, and going in order of release.
All I know is that right now the last 2 are the last 2 in that order.
That's mean.
Ben, what was the third prequel called? The
Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith, right? Okay.
No,
so if I had
that
do
was
it,
okay, I guess.
I would do Empire Strikes Back. Obviously, is one of the greatest movies of all time. As number 1, New Hope 2, Revenge of the Sith 3.
Wow.
Oh, God.
Return of the Jedi 4. Hey, Return of the Sith was good except for a couple of scenes.
Did it have a character named Salacious Crumb?
Then
Checkmate, I mean.
I'd probably say The Last Jedi. What was number 7? The
7 was Force Awakens.
Force Awakens.
Ugh.
Then The Last Skywalker, then Clone Wars, and then Phantom Menace.
The Last Skywalker.
And so,
Ben just made up 3 movies.
I did.
I liked Clone Wars, The Last Skywalker. I liked Hope Solo. That was a good one in there.
Hope's
Ben's just straight up McClunky.
Hope Solo was
Return of the Jabba.
McClunky. But I don't remember all the names of the movies, and so if I had to squeeze Solo,
Where is Rise of Palpatine in your list? Which is what it should have been fucking called, by the way.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but we'll get to the new movie in a bit.
no, it's fine.
No, I have one that went way high on my list. And we've talked about before. It's my favorite of the new ones.
Are we counting the Christmas special?
No, the Christmas special and the Ewok Adventures are not theatrical releases, so
You're
they are not.
I'm proud of you, buddy. And not the Ewok Adventure.
Absolutely, I'm calling because Solo is a competent movie.
Okay, no, Chris, I do agree with that, and I liked Solo. But I'll tell you what my problem with Solo is. When you compare it to Rogue One is all about the beginning of New Hope. Not even the most powerful Jedi, Luke or Obi-Wan or anyone, could have stopped the Empire without those Death Star plans.
Yes.
And they gloss over it. Many people died to get
many
these plans.
Bothans died to get these plans.
That was right? Return of the Jedi.
So Rogue One is telling a story. All right, then. Noted. Rogue One is telling a story, right?
Yeah.
That needs to be told. Young Han Solo, I mean, who cares? The only thing I want to see is the Kessel Run, and that scene was the worst scene in the movie.
Now, here's how I ranked, and I included both Rogue One and Solo in this, mainly because Rogue One is way the fuck high on my list, because I still think it is for my money, when I know Ben does not like Rogue One, I fucking love this movie.
So I actually recently rewatched it just for this podcast, and I actually think Solo is a better movie than Rogue One.
All right, well, I disagree, but I put Empire as number 1, New Hope is number 2, Rogue One is number 3.
Wow.
Force Awakens is number 4, Last Jedi 5, Return of the Jedi 6, Solo 7. We now start to get towards the prequels. Revenge of the Sith 8, Rise of Skywalker 9, Phantom Menace 10, and clearly the worst of the entire series, Attack of the Clones at 11, because it is the biggest, awful, most messy of all of them.
I think that Phantom Menace is the worst, but that's me.
The Phantom Menace has the duel at the end, and
can I change my ranking?
Yes.
To Empire, New Hope.
Yes. I would,
Jedi?
yes. For everyone's sanity, I think that's a proper ranking. Empire is the best Star Wars movie.
Empire is one of the greatest movies of the 80s.
Inarguably, it's the only movie that had a perfect mix of not too much Lucas, not too much other people. Everything just fucking came in.
And that's because it was Kirshner. I mean,
Kirshner fucking killed it.
And because he would argue with Lucas and say, no, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. And halfway through production, Lucas was like, well, I wish I could fire him, but we're already halfway through production.
And oops, we just made the best in the series. I think, so one of the things that, Ben, you kind of talked about how you came to the fandom, and I think this is a really important thing also to talk about how we originally watched some of these movies. Whoa, what was that?
Sounds like Nick just threw up into
someone just gurgled something.
I think it was me going from speaker to normal phone. That was weird.
It was disgusting. It literally sounded like you puked.
I had to throw on my sweatshirt. It's getting nipply.
McClunky.
So we're gonna get into the new movie here, I think, a little bit, and I really want to talk about how the way in which you see a movie colors that movie for you. And this what happened to me with Rise of Skywalker. The exact same thing happened to me with Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, the movie in early 2000s. I watched.
You talking about Rise of Skywalker or Last Jedi?
Rise of Skywalker, right? I wanted to see Rise of Skywalker. I didn't want to be spoiled on it, so I had to get from Austin to San Antonio. I went out and found a movie theater out in the middle of nowhere. In the middle of the day, and went at like a 1:00 showing of Rise of Skywalker. I was by myself, seated by myself. The theater had maybe 10 people in it, and I found the movie to be an inexplicable catastrophe disaster of a movie. I literally walked out and I was like, the last 45 minutes I was on board with, and the rest of the movie, the 2/3 of the movie, I thought were just awful. I couldn't find any redeeming factor. And I was really
you liked the giving life intercourse, that life goes in, life goes out. Life goes in, life goes out.
The last third of it felt like Star Wars to me, including and I will say this right now, even though this movie is ranked low on my list, probably in my top 3 Star Wars moments happens.
Please tell me it's Wedge Antilles.
No, it's not Wedge Antilles. It is the reveal of all of the fighters up in the sky. And Poe Dameron, they came. The fucking we outnumber them. We all showed up. We did this thing. The music hits. That is Star Wars. That is the most iconic, perfect marriage of what this material is supposed to be about. Hope, about the little guys taking control and beating the big bad just by sheer will.
With the help of a Deus Ex Machina.
It's the rest of the entire galaxy decides to fucking show up for once. Let's make it about voting.
That's perfect moment.
It's your vote, right? You wanna get rid of the bad guy. Maybe if everybody shows up and votes against the bad guy, you could win. I'm not saying you're wrong, but you're comfortable saying it's one of the best Star Wars moments. 100% because
I'm not gonna disagree with
because you can nitpick so many things in New Hope and especially Jedi. There are less things in Empire that you can nitpick, but Star Wars has always been cheesy. It has always been rah sis boom ba about what you can do to win.
For me, I completely agree with Matt, except for it's not about everybody showing up. It's about the fact that Wedge Antilles showed up and shot a fucking motherfucker down. Wedge Antilles, the only motherfucking pilot to fly in all 3 flight battles in all 3 original Star Wars movies. By the way, the actor who plays Wedge Antilles, his nephew, is Ewan McGregor.
This is correct. These are all good trivia moments right here. You
guys don't have a problem when you badmouth Lost and stuff. You hate when things change direction suddenly and aren't paid off. To me, you can disagree with what they were trying to build and not like the new Star Wars, but at least they were building towards something. The reveals that no one ever stays dead and things just happen. And then things are taken back, and there are no stakes.
Nick, Leia is Luke's sister. Was a last minute rewrite in Jedi because they realized they didn't have a twist, and they had a big twist in the last movie, and the twist was popular. Yep. The fact that Vader is Luke's father was also not part of canon.
Yeah,
if you want to talk about that, the series never rewrites itself for twist to be twisty. It's
originally it was supposed to be Obi-Wan killed his father.
Yeah, it's like the series has always been about a soap opera.
Wait. That was to keep the cast in the dark and to keep the secret under wraps.
No, it wasn't. When he wrote the first movie, Vader was not his father.
Yeah.
And Leia was not his sister until literally they already started shooting Jedi. And then they decided, oh, you know what? The movie, everyone talks about Vader reveal being such a big deal. Yep. They literally wrote Leia being the sister in as a last minute. Oh, we need a twist. We've got a great twist.
Okay, so there's precedent. Does it make it right? Does it make it good storytelling?
It makes it Star Wars
filmmaking.
No, because Star Wars has never been about good storytelling or filmmaking in its entirety. It's always been flawed.
Sure, but here's what I would argue with you. There's a great article in Forbes recently that compares The Mandalorian and specifically the satisfying conclusion and compares it to the rise of Skywalker. We have arcs that are paid off, that are set up, whereas the only real arc is Kylo Ren, and it happens in the most ridiculous, silly way. But at least he completes an arc. Finn starts off with maybe one of the coolest stories, a stormtrooper who defects and becomes a good guy, and then he just hits on a couple girls and lives his life, I guess. Nothing happens. That's what happens, and you go all of a sudden. You go, oh yeah, and the thing we haven't even hinted at the Emperor being part of this, and then he goes, oh, guess what? I'm back. It's a slap in the face. It's a slap in the face.
Again, I guess we're getting to the analysis of the analysis of the new.
Look,
we're already at an hour and
We're at an hour. No, I listen. I
Return of the New Way. The New Way strikes back.
My take on all the first thing that's very important is the first thing you said when we started this discussion, Nick, is correct. Whatever the first is a group of people sees, that becomes their Star Wars, right? So there's a group of people out there that are watching these ones now that these are their Star Wars. If I talk to David Crespo, his Star Wars is the prequels. The original trilogy is, but that's what he grew up. The first things he saw, the first time he heard it was in Phantom Menace, right? Like that's his world for Star Wars.
Windu's purple lightsaber.
I do love that purple-headed lightsaber. But
did you know that he fought for a purple lightsaber?
Yes. And George Lucas was like, no.
And he was like,
I'm Samuel L. Jackson.
I'm Samuel L. fucking Jackson. I'm having a purple lightsaber.
And then they inscribed it, bad motherfucker. So they pretty much bent over for Sammy Jackson.
Yeah, I guarantee that Samuel Jackson shoved a lightsaber
Sam
up
Jackson's
George Lucas to get that going.
I'm a fucking Jedi. I can do whatever I want to.
So I'm making a little bit more of the debate a little bit with you, Nick. I do agree that, listen, there are tremendous flaws in the new trilogy. I think there are also tremendous.
Now, right? We're better than that. They were creating a genre almost back then.
Let's compare it to The Mandalorian.
At this point, we're better than that.
No, and The Mandalorian is a great thing to compare it to. I mean, The Mandalorian also is has a lot easier. Here's what's interesting about
playing
Mandalorian.
With house money.
But yeah, and here's what's interesting about Mandalorian, right? So the fan backlash started
I'm gonna be right on board with Matt here.
The fan backlash started right in the middle of Mandalorian's episode run, about 4 or 5 episodes in. As soon as people felt they owned the story, and that's what happens. The first episode of Mandalorian, we have no references to any. We have a character that kind of links to another character and another character that kind of links to another one, but it's a brand new story and we don't know where it's going to go, and we're like, fuck yes, this is great. And then the second episode, it starts to go on a path, and 95% of the people go, I like this path, I love The Mandalorian. And we get to a third episode and that drops to 90% of the people, and there's 10% that say, I don't like what we're doing here. And then we get to the fourth
episode is where things went.
And then people start to fucking drop off in droves every episode because they want ownership of the story they were expecting to happen, what the conclusion that they wanted. And everyone feels we're in a crowdfunding age right now where everyone feels this ownership over everything. And I watched it with The Mandalorian happen so fast. It was staggering. And by the time they got to the heist episode with Bill Burr, the fucking fans flipped. And my favorite moment of the entire season that happened on this most recent episode, the Stormtrooper discussion, that's completely a throwback to Troops, which is maybe the first fan video made pre YouTube in 1997. You look it up if you haven't seen it. People hate that whole opening riff with the two stormtroopers talking on their bikes, just having a fucking conversation. People, and that's what bothers me about the fandom of Star Wars, is that there is so much. Oh, dude, people are fucking railing on that shit. Like, it's the majority.
I would say that Star Wars has one of the most toxic fan bases ever.
100%. Yes,
I said that like 9 episodes ago. I talked about how toxic that was.
Hold on, I'm agreeing with you. But that being said, I think all things considered, The Mandalorian has received very little backlash, even with that pretty undeniable fact.
I think the majority has been louder, for at least on this one, than the fans have been. By the way, and also, I mean, the other thing is that The Rise of Skywalker has a ton of fans as well. There are a lot of people that are fucking going nuts over Babu Frick.
Well, there are people who are just like, I'm glad they erased all that shit that fucker, Ryan Johnson did. Fuck that guy.
I did realize
fuck him. He's a fucking asshole child rapist.
There was a note.
I literally saw that. Like, I saw that. Like, I online.
I put a note in my phone last week in a little bit of a drunken stupor, but it really hit home with what you said right now. Is I realized that this one's gonna bite me in the ass because it does sort of agree with Nick. Rise of Skywalker is
It's okay to agree with me occasionally.
No, but I'll tell you, it's going to sound funny. Rise of Skywalker is Trump and Last Jedi is Obama. And I realized that the fan base has treated them almost identically. The Last Jedi came out, and there was a huge amount of people like, finally, something new and different and great. And then the other half were like, this has ruined everything. The world's in disarray. We need something better. And then Rise of Skywalker comes along and like, thank God. We washed our mouths of that nonsense that we dealt with for 3 years ago.
Can I talk about Rise of Skywalker?
Yes.
From a thematic standpoint, I thought was fine. I didn't love a lot of the choices they made, but the one thing that really killed me is that there were so many epic moments from like a lightsaber battle standpoint, and I wanted the Abrams story, but I wanted Rian Johnson's thought of like how to film this.
Yeah.
Like shoot everything like that whole sequence where it was they were fighting where the waves were breaking over the old Death Star.
That was awesome.
That was awesome. But imagine if that had been filmed the way that Rian Johnson filmed the lightsaber battles from Last Jedi, where you took the camera back and you just watched them fight in a wide angle lens and unbroken with like the waves crashing over it, as opposed to all these fast cuts. I was just like, shit, man, I really want that moment with that type of, like Seven Samurai, like the stuff that Lucas was inspired by, with that aesthetic. And that was the one thing that really bothered me about the new film, is it was just so like poorly cut and poorly paced.
There were things that surprised me, and Nick, I do, like I said, I do agree with you a little bit more on this in general. Of like, I think there are a lot of great moments in it that aren't necessarily earned, but they're still great moments because it's Star Wars.
Nothing is earned.
Well, nothing's earned except
that's my biggest problem with it. Nothing is earned.
Nothing's earned except it's Star Wars, right? And it gets a little cachet kind of built in to say, I have invested 8 other movies in this, and this is the 9th, and I'm
12,
whatever it is, and I agree, and I think sometimes I'm gullible, I fall for it. Sometimes I get, and that's why I said that second time I saw it, I watched it with my brother, and the theater was a little bit more crowded, and there was a little bit more reaction to it, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it infinitely better than I did the first time. I mean, really, the first viewing I had of it, I was as sour as I've been on any Star Wars movie since the prequels, really.
Yeah.
The second time I kind of took it for what it was, and I knew and also it helps to know, like, I knew going in I liked the last act of it, so it was like I kind of focused more on what are they doing, and it is shittily edited. The first half of that movie plays like a previously on Star Wars.
It has
like,
no act structure. It's terrible.
It just goes through, and it's not.
It's all over the fucking
Abrams
place.
is not. That's not his typical
No,
style
he's actually
either.
really good about structure.
It did not feel like an Abrams movie until halfway through the flick.
So
let's
just
Matt,
blame Chris Terrio.
You can posture to our listeners, but we all know the true test is how many T-shirts you own. Now, how many Rise of Skywalker shirts do you own, and how many Mandalorian shirts do you own?
Well, I own all the but I also don't own any other Star Wars shirts other than Mandalorian shirts. I just like the Mandalorian a lot.
I rest my case, Your Honor.
There you go.
I think the Mandalorian has both
It has Jon Favreau, who
good writing,
who started out. yes. Well,
it follows its own rules. It pays off the things it sets up.
It has no Babu Frick.
As someone who is taken Jon Favreau to the fucking proverbial cleaners. No, it's The Mandalorian is somebody who has a beginning and an end, and they put that into a context that works well with other people and with other directors. The Mandalorian is the best possible iteration of Star Wars right now because it's collaborative, it's smart, and it's finite. It's got,
while still setting up a pretty exciting season 2.
Yeah, of course,
and it's these short episodes though too, and that's what's
They're
great.
40 minutes long.
Each episode is doing a different Western, which is great. Like
and we get
everything.
space fring. We got space fring.
I do like that. Yeah,
it's
it
great.
is. It. I mean, I think there's that, and I don't want to say that they certainly don't have it easy, but there is a freedom in what they're able to do with the Mandalorian. First of all, let's see what happens in season 2 now that it's a known entity and now that it is a thing. Whereas before it was not a thing. It was just a potential that was out there. That
hold on, I have to make an important announcement. The Baltimore Ravens just set the single season rushing record of all time in the NFL. Just had to say that.
Baltimore Ravens. No, River Frick. There you go.
McClunky.
I wanted to give you a McClunky first for that McClunky way to get that into the podcast, but no, I Mandalorian was a perfect storm. It had no oversight.
Yep.
They were able to get away with it, holding on to a reveal of a character that is the character of the fucking year with the child.
It's crazy how I've paused it, paused watching the show, which I feel like is an adult show that's not appropriate for my kids, and I, for some reason, always pause it when the child is there, and they're like, "Baby Yoda," and they just start screaming, and they just start yelling and whatever, and they're like touching the screen and shit like that. I'm like, "Get your filthy hands off my fucking TV!"
We showed Jesus. we showed Miriam's daughter. She's 11.
Yeah.
She loves animals. So we're like, we put on the 4th episode, Bryce Dallas Howard's one, where they go to the village and stuff, which is the most probably easiest one
it's a very family friendly.
Yeah.
episode.
And so we put it on, and
the one based on Seven Samurai.
Yeah, exactly. Well done, Nick. She could care less about everything. But as soon as Baby Yoda showed up, that was eyes on that. And I also have to commend them, because this really did blow my mind. And at first it made me upset, but now I've kind of become impressed with it. Of the fact that it is not, as we thought originally, it is not Pedro Pascal in that costume for all of the time.
The episode.
In fact, that episode he's not in at all. He never met Bryce Dallas Howard on set. He's got 2 stunt doubles, but both of the guys say that he's the most non-actory dude. So he basically goes, he gets on the phone with them, or they meet up and they say, "Hey, why did you move like this in the pilot?" And he goes, "Well, I did it because of this." He goes, "Why did you move like this during the fight scene?" And they go, "We did it because of this." And they literally built the character amongst these 3 dudes, and it is fucking seamless.
Yeah. No, it's really good.
I cannot tell. It does not feel like there's a separation between that voice performance and that acting.
It's also great to see him in the last episode, where they finally pull the helmet off, and it's. Yeah, I mean,
and it's not like a love interest. I love that it's with the droid. That stuff.
They make you wait for it, because I mean that needed to have some weight.
Yeah,
and credit to Pedro Pascal, who gets a cool role and a great show, but is seen once for one shot,
and he did a great job with it.
No, it is, and
look, the Mandalorian. Yes, they're not playing with marquee characters. It's not part of the pressure-filled world of the new cinematic direction of Star Wars. And yes, Baby Yoda certainly helps too. But the bottom line is, when you are Disney and you're Star Wars, and any talent you want, from directors to writers to actors to special effects artists, are chomping at the bit to work with you, there's no excuse for Rise of Skywalker. I'm sorry. There just isn't.
Interesting.
I don't disagree.
I don't necessarily disagree either, but I think that the fact that they gave Jon Favreau free reign over Mandalorian and helped make that, essentially, that gives me a little bit of reassuring hope for the future of the franchise.
Listen,
absolutely.
What will happen, unfortunately, when this franchise is kind of looked back upon, the 9 movies at least, Rian Johnson, for whether you liked the movie or didn't like the movie, shook shit up.
I didn't like the movie.
I know you did not like the movie.
Can we agree that Rian Johnson is a talented filmmaker who maybe shouldn't have done
terrible Star Wars
maybe shouldn't have made a Star Wars movie?
I agreed.
See, I don't necessarily. That's not my entire takeaway on that.
Not mine
Star
either.
Wars movie.
Some people say he never made a Star Wars movie. But I think I liked that it was different. I liked that it was new. I think that unfortunately for how the series has to work and how Disney has to orchestrate it, switching that up in the middle story
or in episode 8 of 9.
Yeah, and not
was a weird place to do it.
Not keeping that in track with where they think they're going. And remember, it wasn't Abrams that was supposed to direct the third. It was Colin Trevorrow, who got booted because of a badly received independent movie, the Green, whatever the kid was, movie that got bad reviews, and he got booted from it. And I don't love Jurassic World, but that's also late in the game to switch development and stuff. And I think that's more to blame than it is for necessarily whether it's Abrams' fault or Rian Johnson's fault. I think just Ryan went in a way, and they gave him free reign,
and he took it.
And they went, shit, we don't know what to do now because the audience is split. And instead of just leaning into it, which I think would have been the better case, is just to say, let's lean into this direction. They went, no, let's fix it. And that's why you get half a movie that's Abrams sweeping up what he thinks people didn't like about the other one, and then adding his own spin on the end, which is obviously he wanted a Palpatine end. And and that's fine. I think I cringe at your Ray Palpatine is the
my clunkiest
line delivered in maybe any of the Star Wars movies. It's very bad. But then there are things I like the Romeo and Juliet moment at the end, which is, make no mistake, exactly what that is, with the two dying.
100%.
Like it is 100% the end of Romeo and Juliet.
I didn't mind it either.
Like it didn't. There were things that probably should bother me that didn't to that extent, and there are other things that just like the first act being weirdly edited.
And the crazy part is that moment wouldn't work unless it hadn't been set up by Last Jedi.
And that's there were people
by their connection.
Yeah, and people go, no, that was never hinted at in any of the movies. I'm like, are you kidding? That when she catches him with his shirt off is clearly there is a moment in there.
Like, it's right there.
Like she's into this. And
she's into this.
Okay. And also a testament to
Nick. Are you into this?
Are you still there, Nick?
Yeah.
Most honest answer of all time.
Nick was had a fap going, and then he just lost it, and he's like,
no, I'm
do you think it's gonna happen? No, I think it's done now.
I figured I'd give you guys a New Year's present and just not try and
we are in not disagreement about the last movie.
We don't think it's a good movie.
I think listen, it's I put it at 9 out of 11 on my list. All right, so it is not. It is
6 out of 11 on my list.
Yeah, like it's not up there for me, but I don't despise it. I don't think it's as bad as the prequels. It has some great moments.
And when you think about it, right? Like Marvel's going to lose the rights to Spider-Man. Captain America's an old man. Iron Man is dead, and I have no doubt that the direction of the new Marvel Cinematic Universe will be exciting and new and great. Where do you go? Like honestly, where do you go with Star Wars now? The past 3 films have just kind of started to bury it.
I think you go with The Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian. We've watched it.
Yeah, I think.
But the thing is, he's a minor character in the cinematic universe. Where do you go?
You go that direction.
Well, I mean, they're already doing an Obi-Wan series. I think we absolutely.
Ewan McGregor's actually playing him.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. Oh, Ewan is the best part of the prequels. I'd love to see him get real good material.
Oh, but I mean the cinematic Star Wars.
The cinematic
films,
Star Wars
Disney
universe.
Plus,
so they are able to go wherever they want. They can do, and I think
movies. They're in trouble.
I think you should go to a long time ago.
Well, no, yeah, I mean they have infinite possibility. All they have to stay away from is the 30-year or 60-year area that we're looking at right now. So they can go anywhere, tell a new story, new characters, new people, new aliens.
But they're not. They're not. We're gonna get more CGI Carrie Fisher.
We'll see.
We're gonna get Skywalker coming back.
I don't think so.
They've made it pretty clear that this is the definitive cap on for the movies of this story. They're off to new shit. I think they absolutely are gonna.
We're gonna kill Chewie, and I thought that was great. That was a sign of like, okay, they're moving on. No, guess what? He's on another ship.
Did you notice?
Give me a fucking break.
It's funny because that's one of like there are a mess of Indiana Jones Easter eggs in that movie. That's one with like it's the same as her. She gets in the basket and thinks the basket gets exploded and thinks she's dead.
Only that was done well.
Oh snap!
No, I first of all, I have no fear for the Star Wars franchise whatsoever.
It'll be fun.
They will figure out a way to make it work. I think I'd love to see more shit like Rogue One. I'd love to see.
I'm checking out. I'm watching The Mandalorian. I might watch Obi-Wan, but as far as movies go, it's kind of like at a certain point I stopped seeing DC films in the theater, and I'm kind of there.
I think listen, what I'd like to see them do is treat space travel somewhat more real, like the one. Okay,
Star Trek.
I want to go around the room, right? I want you to pick one thing. One Star Wars thing that's consistent throughout the series that is gripe that you have about Star Wars, right? Yeah,
in all of Star Wars.
In all of Star Wars, just one thing that bugs you the most out of it, because I have one specific one.
I'll have mine really quick.
Yeah,
the one that was addressed actually in the last episode of Mandalorian. The stormtroopers can't shoot for shit.
And Obi-Wan says only Imperial shooters are precise as that.
So fucking bad. Yeah. They cannot shoot.
That's a good one.
They don't hit shit.
How about you, Nick?
I got a bad feeling about this.
Touche.
Well done. Mine is that planets.
That joke is over.
Yeah. No.
Planets don't explode.
Does it bring you any satisfaction to hear that in a Star Wars film anymore?
I don't. That does not bother me nearly as much as the fact that people go to planets and they land in apparently the only city that exists on that planet, and they also go to the same 10 fucking planets we've been going to since the original. Right. But like,
I want to go to Mandalore, baby.
Mandalorian is guilty of this. He lands on the one planet. He goes, "Oh, this is a barren planet." He lands in there. He finds one chick in one bar in a little town, and he goes, "Oh, can't stay here. There's another fighter here." I'm like, I live in Boynton. I don't know anyone in this town. I could hide out in Boynton here, no problem. Like, how big are these fucking
good
planets?
Analogy for Florida.
It drives me fucking crazy every time. Like that bit, I'm like, you can't
think
stay
you
here?
moved to South Florida.
It's fucking ridiculous.
To get away from people, but you really don't.
Well, he also risks his life to save the child, and then leaves him with Amy Sedaris, and just leaves him in the plane.
He leaves him a lot of places.
Yeah,
he's like the most reckless. And the thing is, Lindsay actually pointed it out to me. She loved the last Star Wars film and hates The Mandalorian. So we've had some heated text exchange in the past couple of days. But I think her
Lindsay
maternal
hates The Mandalorian.
Probably, yeah,
really?
She hates it. And I think it really has to do with like why, if it's so important, why does he keep leaving the kid? And why does he keep dropping the ball? To me, that's not enough reason to hate it. And what I hope is, I feel like something clicked with him.
He'll come back quick.
And you are the father now. Like literally gave him that talk show moment. You are the father. It's like, I hope that in season 2 that clicks. And now, whereas problems arose when he left the kid alone, now I hope that the problems are caused by the fact that he doesn't leave the child.
Okay.
And that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. That makes sense. Good with that. Yeah, listen, we're all Star Wars fans. Star Wars has always been about debate and fight.
Not anymore.
I mean, hell, Clerks has the debate about what ranking the original trilogy, right. And Dante chooses Jedi. He's like, "Oh, Jedi has a bunch of fucking Muppets." Like this debate has raged on far before any of this stuff.
I mean, Clerks, the independent contractors, and Jedi.
Yeah, like everything. These debates will continue to rage on. We'll continue to cover Star Wars as we all do. I'm still a fan. I can't wait for new Mandalorian. It's going to be amazing. But we thank you so much for listening to this year's last podcast of The New Way.
There you
That's
go.
Right. That's right.
That's fucking right.
McClunky.
I see your shorts as big as mine.
Now let's see how well
we
you
also did
handle
not
it.
talk about Babu Frick nearly enough because do you know who voices Babu Frick?
Who?
The chick that does Moaning Myrtle from Harry Potter. That's right. Crossing the gender lines at Disney right there.
Oh
That's
my
right.
god.
McClunky.
I love it. All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining us on this week's podcast and for the podcast this year. We will be back in January with new episodes to rage against those eardrums of yours out there. So,
are you gonna play us out, Matt?
With is that what you want to? Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, I did forget. I forgot. It's on here. It's on here. I'm gonna play us out. Ben's exiting the room because he has to pee. But I will play everyone else out with a special from Nick Santa Croce, an original parody song called "The Greedo Scuffle." Thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you next year. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. McClunky.
McClunky.
We're gonna just talk over this, Nick. Oh, sorry.
But Solo's packing heat, and he ain't coming back. At Cantina Bar in Mos Eisley, he made a stop, just long enough to catch a laser and get dropped.
McClunky.
Next stop, Oliver and Rita's out to put down, got Steve Roach. Hunt said one more shot.
McClunky.
Greedo be rotten, Hans having great fun till he got the note saying fun and knife to chew, and that was all he wrote. That's Huddy, and for you're in trouble. Hot and chewy, wacky, witty, headed for Cloud City, going for broke. Saying one more pal ought to help us. This guy ain't gonna betray us.
McClunky.
I said one more job on head, one last ride for Java gets it, one more
Gonna chota Solo.
Yes, Greedo. As a matter of fact, I was just about to go see your boss. Tell Jabba I've got his money.
So, Pichale, Bala Trampi Chuck Baka Cheese.
Yeah, but this time I've got the money.
Jabba Wanning Jacob Fan Marishan Chang Yiwana Yoska.
Come on. I'm done.
Right.
Bucket.
McClunky.
Sorry about the mess. I think we all know who shot first. It was me, Han Solo.
Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time. Cheers.